fruits.
Balrogs and Blastbeats for another week. Here is a nerdy meets metal podcast with lots of kind of we kind of just take it any way we want to talk. We just want to talk about nerdy things. I just want to hang out with some friends and just talk nerd. No, my name's Josh Redbeard, keeping you company.
I'm Margy. I am not wearing any pants, and I'm also keeping you company.
And I'm Grant, and I guess I'm also keeping you company. but today we're going to be, first of all, keeping you company talking about our nerdiest things. And Josh, what's the nerdiest thing that you've done this week?
Well, I've been called out by the YouTube algorithm with a new hyperfixation. I'm going down the hyperfixation train because like when the algorithm just suggests something stupid and you're like, why the fuck did you suggest me that? I need to watch this and find out. And then like 5 hours later, you've watched like 10 videos around. You're like, oh, that's why the algorithm suggested it.
I've well and truly found out.
The algorithm's too smart.
It is, especially because like
this is algorithm.
This is something that's like sort of attached to my interest, but at the same time not. It came across this channel called Scary Interesting, which has a whole lot of like 20-minute odd story videos about people dying in like cave diving accidents and caving accidents, like people like swimming through different caves and whatnot, and then like the cave collapses in them or they get lost or something like that. And I've never dove in my life. I don't like swimming. Like hiking is as close as I come to that, but I don't like watch hiking videos on YouTube. But I got real confused. I'm like, oh, I need to watch this kind of cave disaster thing. And I've literally watched probably 15 videos about cave and hiking disasters now. And I am riveted. I'm actually riveted in this, and I don't know why. It's like, and I was like, yeah. So I was like, I was real surprised by the algorithm suggesting this, and now I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Kate, have you seen cave diving though? Like that shit is terrifying. They go through the tiniest spaces, and I'm like, what if your oxygen tank or like one of your tubes gets punctured, or what if one of your lights dies and you're in the pitch black in like. Yeah,
It's literally what all of these videos are about. Yeah. There was one I was just watching recently about this cave in Utah that's like it's quite a well kind of looked through cave, but there's one particular part that's quite tight to get through. Like literally it's apparently like I think it's like 13 inches across, like you could just kind of squeeze through it. And this guy thought he was going down that trap, but went down another one, but then just got tighter and tighter and tighter. And they literally couldn't get him out because he was down and around an angle. And then, he was upside down for, I think it was like 12 hours, then ended up having a heart attack and died. And they couldn't get his body out. So they just poured concrete into the cave.
And exploration of caves is called spelunking.
Spelunking is the best
Spelunking
word
is such a good word.
I used to have a magic card that I had in one of my decks that was just Splunking Goblins, and for no other reason apart from the fact that I thought it was a hilarious card name. It was just two goblins sitting on like some stalactites. So I'm like, oh, cool.
Amazing. But yeah, so my nerdiest thing is to get on a wild hyperfixation about cave diving accidents on Scary Interesting, and yeah. My brain is weird. Margy, what's the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
Look, I had the old Roan bone, so that was pretty fun. Roan bone, yep.
TM.
The novel Coronavirus 19. And so I was in bed for a week, and I watched a lot of Criminal Minds, which is my cat's favorite TV show, and would sit there correcting her because like they base a lot of the cases off like actual famous cases, and one of my hyperfixations is true crime. So so I was sitting there like, oh no, that's not how this happened in reality. No, like in this one, and Bowie was like. And at the same time, I discovered playing Settlers of Catan online for free at colonist.io. You should check it out. I am really bad at Settlers of Catan, and I got bullied on the internet.
Wait, you mean like the board game?
That's like, and because I had COVID brain. I mean, like COVID brain is real though. Like I played a gig on Friday night and got clicked in for a song, and the drummer starts going, and I was like,
I thought
and
you were just
so-
doing a solo.
and then I just forgot how to play one of the songs. I just started playing the wrong notes, and the guitarist stopped and was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, so COVID break's been fun. Getting my ass whipped by probably children on the internet and then bullied by them. They're like, "You suck at this game," and teaching my cat about true crime. What about you, Grant?
Well, the nerdiest thing I've been listening to this week is there's like a new series of one of my favorite podcasts called We're Alive. It's like a audio theater podcast, so it's like all like massive soundscapes. Everything's like all the characters. It's about a zombie outbreak. It's like goes from like the point of when everyone realizes that shit's going down to them like trying to start a community, and further on to fighting, having to defend those communities from zombies, and then later on other people once scarcity of resources and all that stuff.
Is this a documentary show?
No, it's a podcast. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's so that's what I've been listening. But they've done a new series. So like the original series was started in like 2009 and finished in 2014. It's like I think there's like 49 chapters. I think 3 episodes per chapter. So like there's a heap. Like the episodes are about like 35, 40 minutes each. There's a couple. It's like
What's this one called again? I'm writing this down.
Yeah, we're alive. Like I won't give away too
It'll be in the
much.
show notes, Margy. It'll
Yeah,
all be in
the show
notes. So
notes.
link it all in the show notes.
Yeah, like the story's got like
COVID brain.
a lot of good hooks in it. So I don't want to give a lot away, but yeah, if you're into zombies,
excited.
if you got time to kill, listen to podcasts. Yeah, this will sort you for 2-3 weeks of like full days of listening. And they've just done a new series, which is We're Alive Descendants, which is like the children of the original survivors, and they're like going into like the next step of civilization now, pretty much like like kind of like coming back. Like the zombies are still there, but they're kind of like coming back. So and like figuring out how the world's going to react in like a post-apocalypse, I guess.
Do they have like different voice actors as
Oh,
well?
absolutely,
Like,
yeah. Everyone's. It's not like narrated. Like it's actual full. Like it's basically a movie without the visual.
yeah, like I love this because there used to be radio shows that did this. Like back in the day, there used to be like before we had podcasts, there used to be radio shows, and
Like War of the
that was the
Worlds.
thing. Yeah, exactly. Like War of the Worlds and stuff. Like was all acted out as a radio show, and yeah, I think it's sick that like podcasting is doing that.
Yes, like every single person's got independent voice actor, but also every single sound effect of like a footstep, a door handle opening, like everything's fully mixed and audio put in. It's fantastic. Anyone who digs podcasts, suspense, mystery, zombies, it's got everything. Absolutely.
Are there zombie noises?
Yeah, zombies. There's many different kinds of zombies as well once you get further into it. Ooh, spoiler.
Ooh, mutations.
You totally
We'd
just
love it.
reminded me, Margy, as well. I have on CD somewhere, I have the original Star Wars radio play that NPR did, and you totally just reminded me because they have like episode titles, and episode one, chapter 1 has, in my opinion, just one of the best names for something. It's called "A Wind to Shake the Stars," and the
That's cool.
imagery,
Yeah.
the imagery of that sentence is phenomenal.
Scientists will know that that's not possible, unless it's like a solar wind thing. But
That comes from the star.
Space is a vacuum.
the imagery of a wind to shake the stars is very, very pretty. But yeah,
That's really
it's one of those things just sat in the back of my head. And as soon as you like radio plays, I'm like, oh, radio play. Hang on, I have a radio play.
radio plays. Excellent. Bring him back.
100%. But I will, as Margy just reminded, I will tag every week in the show notes. I put our favorite things, or if Margy goes on a science trip, I just link to the Wikipedia about the science trip so we can all understand all the. I can't even remember what it was, but it was something really, really like. It was a white powder that causes reactions.
Triphenylphosphine, yeah.
Triphenylphosphine. I just linked to that in one of the show notes.
I'm going to have to start doing Science Corner with Margy. And we can, for anyone watching on YouTube, we'll put up the picture from the video of me setting myself on fire.
Please.
Please do not use your Bunsen burners at home.
We don't use them in real chemistry, and people don't believe me about that. But absolutely, like, that's so unsafe. Anyways, you were talking about hyperfixations, Josh, and we're introducing a new short segment this week, aren't we?
Ooh, we are. As we move into the medium beat, we're gonna have a special interest corner, which I feel like we tried like a show and tell. So maybe this is the expanded version of show and tell, where it doesn't exactly have to be show if you don't have a show for it, but I do have a show for it because for a number of reasons. I've always been a very, very big fan of Warhammer, especially Warhammer 40,000. I played it a lot as a kid. I was a terrible, terrible painter as a kid. But I mean, we were talking in the very last episode about, financial gatekeeping and stuff like that. And I used the suggestion of buy especially Warhammer stuff, buy people's old collections on Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree, because people sell it really fucking cheap. And so so I've bought a whole bunch of collections, like people's old Space Marines that they didn't want anymore, and started just as an act in mindfulness, like painting my own Warhammer figures. And at the same time, I've been reading the Horus Heresy books. Again, I've spoken about them in episodes past. And I think about book 10 or something like that. There's like a massive, massive war, and like there's this big betrayal, and all this stuff happens, and a whole bunch of people are kind of left for dead, but you don't really know if they actually died. And I was thinking about the wars in the Warhammer universe, and how there would be so many times where their armies are cut off, like they're left on a planet, their ships are destroyed, but they've survived, and they just kind of have to figure out, like they would just be left to live on this world. If their ships are gone, they've killed the enemy, but they can't get out of here, or they're trapped in the warp, or whatever it happens to be. So Margy has
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Warhammer, because I'm not familiar with it, but it looks like fun because I do like painting. So it involves space travel.
The Warhammer 40,000 universe, there is it's a lot around the space travel and what's called the warp, which is sort of like the under dimension. It's basically a hell dimension that they use like to travel through like faster than the speed of light. So they
for some reason, I feel like using a hell dimension might end up in some unsavory types popping out.
Well, it absolutely 100% does. It definitely does. But so as I was reading this, I was thinking about all those soldiers that kind of stay down there. And then at the same time, like a big part of the story is there's all the chapters of Space Marines. And originally the Emperor created 20 Primarchs as sort of the fathers of these chapters. But it's kind of lore that two of them, they're never mentioned. They're mentioned in kind of passing. It's just like, oh, we don't talk about those. Like they were struck from the records. No one knows what happened to them anymore. Ooh. And like as a bit of meta, Games Workshop kind of used that so people would create their own Space Marine chapters and kind of have ideas with that. So I started thinking about like what would cause, there'd obviously be, if there was two, maybe there was one that just like snapped and went completely nuts and, kind of ran away and whatnot. But all the Primarchs are based around different parts of the Emperor's personality. And the only one that's really missing is the idea of like the healer or the caregiver. So I thought about maybe there was a Primarch who didn't want to fight. Like he was like, I don't want to be a fighter, I want to be a healer. And he actually just stepped away, and maybe he took his sons with him. And so then I kind of started writing the story of that chapter. And so I've created my own Space Marine chapter, because it kind of fits into this story as well. If they were the healers, they would find the lost chapters that were left on worlds that would be from all the other 18 of them. Because, so for example, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding this up now, but I'm going to explain it as best as I can. So this is a character technically from the Ultramarines called Marnius Khalgar, which you can kind of see. I don't know if the camera's actually.
He has a cape. He's very cute.
He has a cape. He's very cute. But so he'd be in the Ultramarines. So normally he'd be blue, but he's joined this. Something has happened to him. He's been lost in the warp, and he's joined this chapter, and. So the kind of the champions and the heroes, I've painted them all kind of black. So they're like the captains, and they're like the people who have saved lives and whatnot. And then just your standard guys, they'll be just in like a blood red sort of thing. And so yeah, I kind of
very inviting for the healers to be black and blood red.
100%, you know. But yeah, so I've been having a lot of fun kind of creating this whole kind of backstory and like, yeah, they're all like, all the different chapters are based in different parts of mythology and like nods to different, you know, parts of the world and whatnot. So like, you know, the white scars are very, very much like the Mongol hordes and things like that. Like they're very much into their jet bikes and like being off on their own and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. Whereas like the space wolves are very much like Nordic Viking sort of thing.
Sick.
Yeah, and so I based this a lot around like Roman mythology, like the idea of Apollo. He was the healer, you know, as the god of medicine and things like that. And so yeah, there's a lot of like references to that throughout the story. But that's like on multiple levels has kind of been really, really fun because like I said, it's just I love to write, and so it's been really fun, like kind of coming up with this concept and this story and this background, but also painting Warhammer figures is such an incredible act in mindfulness because they are so small. You have to focus on the details. Like you can't be thinking about anything else. You can't be thinking about the world. You can't be thinking about your problems just because.
You said Apollo was a Roman god. I just made sure I double fact checked that. He was a Greek god.
There's a Greek. No, all right. So then, what was the Roman one? I mean, the Romans stole half of the Greek gods. So technically,
all of Roman mythology is directly based off the Greek gods. The Roman god of medicine and healing.
Xanaxius.
Oh no, that's the Roman god. Well, the Greco-Roman was Asclepius, and the Latin was Esculapius. There we go. And that's the staff with the snakes around it. The Roman god, Esculapius. He was associated with the Roman. He is associated with the Roman Etruscan god Vetiophus. Yeah. Anyway, I got a thing about the Romans.
I thought the Esculapius was the snails that people eat.
That's escargot.
Escargot, no. Oh, I have a bit of shinfo for you with tabletop gaming.
I love shinfo.
Guess who wrote the first ever rules for tabletop wargaming?
No idea.
H.G. Wells.
What a boss.
The more you know.
H.G. Wells wrote a book called Little Wars, and it outlines the first ever detailed rules of playing tabletop games with mini model soldiers. So there you go.
And you have just reminded me as well. No, you are 100% right on the fact correct. So the Ultramarines, which are one of the chapters, they're the ones that are based on the Roman. That's why I went with the Greek. Yeah, so it is Apollo because you're Greek, 100%. Yeah, because I was trying to think. I was like, why is it Roman Greek? It's So the Ultramarines are very much based on that. Yeah. The Ultramarines are based on the Roman society, and then my brain went, well, the Greek society is close to that, and then I can use Apollo. So yes. Brain.
And this is us with our limited knowledge, and I'm sure someone out there has a special interest in like Greek and Roman mythology, and is just like screaming at the computer, like, "You idiots!
You losers know nothing about the Mediterranean.
What kind of nerds are you?" I mean, ancient history did used to be one of my hyperfixations, so I do know a lot about it. And also, the Age of Empires. You know how they released that one that had the gods?
Age of Mythology.
Yeah, the Age of Mythology one, and you could be there was like the Roman, the Greek, and the Norse gods, or Egyptian as well, I think. And like, yeah, that got me really into it. Gateway drugs.
I fucking love it. But yeah, I've been such a fan of the Warhammer universe for such a long time because it is so creative on so many different levels. Like whether you're making figures or you're making like scenery and whatnot. The community.
Do you make battlefield scenery as well?
Yeah. I've made quite a bit. Like there's a church up there. There's a giant volcano up there. Like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I've just been like fucking around with because I can. And it's all just stuff that I've learned off watching YouTube videos. There's so many like really, really easy how-to stuff up there. And again, like if we harken back to last episode about financial gatekeeping, there's a dude on YouTube whose entire YouTube is about making Warhammer terrain, but from stuff he pulls out of his garbage. So out of like milk cartons, out of like old McDonald's cups, out of everything like that. Like literally he just goes through his trash, finds stuff, and it looks incredible, but it's so simple when he breaks it down so easily.
As with any creative endeavor, like especially when you're like doing stuff like painting. So like I'm a painter, and also like I obviously, if you're watching YouTube, love doing my makeup. And the way that I learned that, fucking around and finding out. Like because I've got like untreated ADHD. I don't have the attention span to sit there and watch videos because I'm like, scratching, I don't know, running around doing things. So like, but then I'll hyperfixate when I am painting or when I am doing my makeup. So, but yeah, I just fuck around and find out when in doubt, or watch some sick YouTube videos if that's more your jam. But there is nothing that can't be learned by fucking around.
Speaking though of fucking around and finding out, I think that leads nicely into the main segment for the evening, which is something you should always just fuck around and find out on. The mechanics of magic, we've called this. Whose idea was this one, by the way? Margy's in trouble.
Me.
We're gonna discuss the ideas of magic, I guess, like through various representations of pop culture and whatnot. But I wanted to start off you two kind of I brought up some quotes that sort of define magic through three people who believe it exists. They're like, these people are actually confirmed to believe in some sort of magic on some sort of level. The first one is Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke, most famous for writing 2001: A Space Odyssey, and then the concurrent sequels, is one of the most like prolific early sci-fi writers of our time. And he says, magic is just science that we don't understand yet.
I've heard that quote so many times, but not from anything other than Civilization 6, because I'm pretty sure one of the tech upgrades it plays that, and it's got Sean Bean narrates the whole game as well. So I'm like, yeah, you go, Sean Bean. Magic is just science we don't understand.
Well, I disagree with that, but I'm sure David Blaine agrees.
We're all mind freaks.
Well, I reckon that's actually though my second favorite Arthur C. Clarke quote, because I was looking into his life, and one of my favorite quotes from him has to be this. It's when talking about intelligent life in the universe, he says, "Two possibilities exist: either that we are alone in the universe, or we are not. Both are equally terrifying." Like,
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think about that a lot. Like the fact that we just life created in only one place in the universe is just, but then also life in other parts of the universe is also like, it's like that's a whole episode in itself.
100%. But the second quote was from it was a 11th and 12th century scholar called Michael Scott. No relation to the officer's Michael Scott. But this Michael Scott says, magic is really only the utilization of the entire spectrum of the senses. Humans have cut themselves off from their sense. Now they see only a tiny portion of the visible spectrum, hear only the loudest of sounds. Their sense of smell is shockingly poor, and they can only distinguish the sweetest and sourest of tastes. I think there's something deep about that.
Yeah, like I mean, there's like a lot of birds and bugs and flowers as well, where if you look at them under like in different regions of the electromagnetic spectrum, they're actually way more active and beautiful than what we could ever possibly imagine. We're like, oh yeah, that flower looks kind of cool. And when you look at it in like a different portion, so the electromagnetic spectrum is where light is, and then you've got like UV and IR on either side of it, infrared on either side. And if you look at stuff in other sides of that spectrum that occur in nature, they're insanely beautiful and complex and beyond our comprehension, but we don't see in that region. Like a bird might, or a bee might, but we don't. So, like, doesn't really matter. We don't need to see the flower. So
what you're saying is it's magic.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a secret world that we can't see. That's
sure, why not?
Yeah.
Great. I thought you'd actually be though a big fan of Michael Scott, because again, I was reading about his life, and he was invited to go and hang out with Frederick II, and he was attracted to his court in the king.
Frederick of Prussia.
No, the Kingdom of Sicily.
The other Frederick. Yes.
Yeah, the other Frederick.
The less important Frederick.
But Michael Scott wrote a lot of letters and stuff that was left after his time, and Apparently, Frederick II attempted to catch Scott out on his calculations of the distance between distance to heaven by scaling it from the height of a church tower. But Frederick II secretly had the tower lowered in height. and Scott replied in a letter by saying that either the moon had gotten further away or the tower had gotten shorter.
Fucking nerds.
I'm pretty sure, like going back a couple episodes, I'm pretty sure it was either Frederick II or one of his like progeny with one of the persons that purchased the chess playing machine that we did the.
Well, fuck
Oh
yeah.
my god!
Yeah, I think whichever one of them was alive around the 1700s, he's the one that bought the chess machine, and he's
Yeah,
the only other person that knew that the chess machine was a rort. Because he bought it. Well, he didn't. I don't know. I'm sure if he knew it was a rort, but he bought it. He never used it because he probably just never figured out how to fucking use the machine. And then
wasn't good enough at chess.
yeah, they just didn't realize. Oh wait, the machine is actually it doesn't work at all. It's fake. So
yeah, absolutely,
Amazing.
absolutely. And then the third quote is probably from one of the most famous like real life magic practitioners of our times, a person by the name of Aleister Crowley. And Crowley's someone that I really, really do want to read more about because everything that I hear about this dude is wild. But he's a bit more vicious. He just says science is always discovering odd scraps of magical wisdom and making a tremendous fuss about its cleverness.
Excellent.
Which I love. But yeah, he has a very interesting life. Looking at his Wikipedia page, Aleister Crowley has a fucking wild life.
yeah, it's amazing what you can do when you can just prance around spending your parents' money for 15 years.
I just also want to point out that in the show notes, like a document, Josh numbered them 1, 2, and 4.
4, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, there's no 3.
So, magic.
Yeah. Also, yeah, had a laugh at like the mystery quote that he did throw out there. I'm like, that's not the show notes. I guess that's number 3.
Excellent.
No, it's just I feel like I've got like 2 bits of notes, so I was just kind of like just throwing some stuff out there. But yes, I have COVID brain, so no, I had a third quote, and then I was like, I'm just going to bring it down to 3, and then I just didn't change the numbers. All right.
All right.
I thought you were just trying to make us look bad.
All right, so let's go magic.
Right.
We've mostly are looking at what we've put forward so far too as ideas is stuff that is like novel based. But obviously these have all been adapted into movies and shows, I think. Except
I don't think The Magician has.
Yeah. But I haven't read it in ages, so I'm feeling really like, oh god, I don't want to fuck up. I don't want to do Pug a disservice. Like,
well, I've honestly never even heard of it, book or TV form. So I'm going
to have to lend it to you.
Fresh, yeah. I can't read.
Yeah, I forgot to get it out. So a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today, I have lots of books behind me, etc. I think I want to kick things off by talking about one of my favorite magic dynamics that I've ever read. I've read a lot of fantasy, and if anyone's been listening to the show, you know I've been enjoying the Wheel of Time series. And I think it's a very cool use of magic and explanation and the magical lore. I mean, there's like 13, 14 books in the series, so obviously there's a lot of establishment of it. So what do you guys know about the Wheel of Time and the magic and stuff?
Nothing.
Donuts. You are the professional.
Yep.
Well, here's book 7 for those watching at home.
Good start.
I was going to read out a really nice quote from book 1, except I actually lent it to someone. So there goes all my hopes and dreams. So in the Wheel of Time, there is something called the one power, the source, the one true source, the one power, and it is what turns the wheel of time. So the concept of continuation and turning is always happening. So it's what turns the wheel of time. It's what drives the world forward and what continues things. And it's from the creator, not really known. All that's really mentioned is that there's a creator, which created the Wheel of Time and the world and etc. So that source of power is split into two halves, a male and a female half, and that's a really ongoing dynamic in the Wheel of Time series. So there's Saidar, which is what women can access, and Saidin, which is what men can access. But the whole dichotomy of the magic being either for men or for women really is probably what gives the Wheel of Time its kind of sexist, problematic stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen anything about that, but it's out there that that's a whole other episode when we talk about sexism in fantasy. We'll get there. I am not fighting a war in a fucking chainmail bralette, as cute as that would be. So
I think even that's being modest.
It's just nipple tassels. So when someone can accesses the power, it's called channeling, and not everyone can access the power. Like it's one of those things that are just built into people, etc., etc. I really need to get up for a second because my cat's scratching at the door, and otherwise things are going to get weird. Interlude.
Music's just softly playing as we do this.
I was waiting for like Smoke on the Water to start playing.
Bowie, give your thoughts and feedback on the Wheel of Time series. No, okay.
Sexism sucks.
Jeez, oh, he's so vocal today. Otherwise, I should start yowling. And then, anyway, so when one is channeling, they weave together the 5 elements that you can weave. So there's surprisingly water, earth, fire, air. Long ago,
that's the theme of Captain Planet, isn't it?
And Avatar. So it's and then there's also spirit. So when you do a different weave, you can combine different things to achieve different things. Like if you combined wind and fire or something, you can make a big explosion, for example. If you combine like fire and earth, you can make the ground explode. When you start mixing in spirit, you can start doing stuff like healing people, and you can even do some weird things like ripping open the fabric of time and traveling, which is really cool. Yeah, that's kind of that's how. Well, there's different things. So everyone is born with like a different amount of access to the source. So some people are stronger in the power than others, and that's actually how they establish a hierarchy in the female channelers of the world. They are all in what they call the White Tower, and they're all called Aes Sedai. Moiraine, if anyone started watching the TV show, she's an Aes Sedai who features in there. And so and they actually have like an order of hierarchy. Like you would defer to someone who's more powerful than you, which is very cool. The reason why I haven't spoken about the men is because I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but the male half of the source has been tainted by the Dark One, which happened in the breaking of the world. Which seems to be like literally like continents shifted and everyone and all the men who could channel went mad. And so pretty much now any man who channels gets hunted down by the Aes Sedai, and they call it stilling or gentling, depending if you're talking about a man or a woman. And that's where their access to the power is taken away. And that's another thing that requires spirit weave. So men can generally draw more of the power than women, because in the same reflection of the real world where men are generally stronger than women physically, but women are often better at weaving the flows. So women can often make more delicate and intricate flows, and women can often hold more flows at the same time. So you can like be, I don't know, picking up a rock and I don't know. See, look, I'd be useless for having magic. I've run out of ideas already.
So like, is a flow like equivalent to like a vanilla magic, like a spell, like doing multiple flows is like having like multiple spells going on at once.
Yeah,
like
multiple weaves.
Actions.
Multiple weaves is multiple. So each weave is so you weave together a flow which is like a spell. There's a lot. And then there's also magical items which can help you channel. So there's things like, they're called Angrial, Terangrial, and Sangrial, and they're things that we don't understand. Some of them have got specific things. So you hold like a rod, and if you swear an oath while holding the rod and someone channeling spirit into it, it's an unbreakable oath. It's so cool.
Someone with this rod being like, "Fuck you, dog. Fuck you, dog."
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. And then there's other things that can help you access more amounts of the power, which are Angrials and Sangrials. So it's a really complex system that he's established. But I love that the way that they put the magic is you access a higher power. So like, I guess you could say it's equivocal to like a god, I don't know, something, but you access like the highest spiritual power of the universe, and by accessing that you can channel it through you to do things.
It's cool,
which is a very cool concept.
Yeah, it's very different to like, I mean, you take something like the magician, where it is just like it's Pug becoming an apprentice, and
that's literally it.
It's like that is the sort of the way that you go, like Lord of the Rings has the, you just sort of like change color as a wizard as you kind of go up, but it's like
well, aren't the wizards in Lord of the Rings kind of like omnipotent beings? Like they're just like energy being channeled into like a vessel. No? Yeah, I haven't read it. That's just... Yeah.
So I haven't read all of the Silmarillion. I've only read the first part up to where the Silmaril starts, and the other books. But I've read the Founding of the World. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. You look like you know what you're doing.
You're still the professional on this one. I'm trusting you on this.
The wizards in Lord of the Rings are what they call Maya. So when the world was created, the Valar were created first, who are the I would say gods, easiest way to put it. And one's in charge of the oceans, and one's in charge of the earth, and one's in charge of beauty, and one's in charge of light. It's all that kind of stuff. And then they created the Maya, which are, I would say, like demigods, superhuman, super existent beings that kind of serve different factions. And that's who Sauron was before he went all evil. He was actually a Maya. So he was like same level as Gandalf, same sort of creation. And he was sent, and then he went bad and started all the, he like teamed up with Shelob, which like Shelob's been around for a while. She's old. She's really old. So like that all happens. Yeah. So the 5 Maya, because there's only 5 wizards in Middle Earth, were sent over from the Western lands, which is where all the magic kind of creation happened. And they were sent over to help Middle Earth with the battle against Sauron and evil, without the Maya, without the Valar getting directly involved, because they can't, like, they don't like to meddle with the affairs of man, even though they created men. Whatevs. So Gandalf is actually supernatural. So that's like an interesting one where the magic is like godly, otherworldly. It's not. Yeah, and so that's kind of like a parallel to the Wheel of Time, where it's like, you draw the magic from something bigger.
But I feel like most like fantasy franchises, like they all have like, they might have similarities in their magic, but most of them have like their own set of magical rules that the world that's been created that follows. Like I feel like there's so many different kinds of, like even like Avatar, for example. Like, I would say in my personal experience that the stuff like the bending and stuff, to me, that's still magic, even though they don't call it magic, but it's just got its own set of rules of magic. Like to me, like what I wrote down in my notes is to exert influence through supernatural means. To me, is what magic is. That influence could change, but just exerting an influence into the world with a supernatural mean. That's what I believe magic is.
That's really funny because in the King Killer Chronicle, Patrick Rothfuss finished the last book. This is a personal threat to Patrick Rothfuss. I've been waiting for years. one of the forms of magic is called sympathy, which is where you create a sympathetic link between objects. And it's literally done through force of will.
Oh, there you go.
It's done by it. There's a few more steps to it, but it's literally believing it to be true. So it's like, and like holding two opposing thoughts in your head. So like, I'm lifting this coin, but in the other part of your head, you're like, that coin is going to stay in the air. And it's literally strength of will to defy the laws of physics.
So it's the force is basically it.
Yeah. Patrick Rothfuss's books. That's one that y'all would probably doesn't fit your definition of magic. Grant, it's there's different forms. There's 4 different forms that are taught at the Arcanist's place, where there's sympathy, which is where strength of will to usurp the laws of physics and manipulate energy. Sigildry, which is very cool, where an artificer uses runes and delicate metalwork to create items capable of amazing feats. Yeah. Alchemy, which the main character doesn't really fuck with, so we don't hear too much about it, but pretty much just alchemy, which is making potions. And then naming, which is the one that doesn't really fit in with the rest. And naming is where you learn the true name of something and then you can control it. So that's why the first book is called The Name of the Wind, because he learns the true name of the wind and then controls it.
Spoiler alert, it is George.
Yeah, the true name of Stone is Bob. We've got Frank who's fire over there. But like, it's so complex. There's a really good excerpt that I kind of want to tell you about Sigildry, because I really like how well Patrick Rothfuss thought this out. It's a set of tools for channeling forces, like sympathy made solid. For example, if you engrave one brick with the rune Ule and another with the rune Doch, the 2 runes would cause the bricks to cling to each other as if mortared in place. But it's not as simple as that. What really happens is the 2 runes tear the bricks apart with the strengths of their attraction. To prevent this, you have to add the rune Aru to each of the bricks. Aru is the rune for clay, and it makes the 2 pieces of clay cling to each other, solving your problem. Except that Aru and Doch don't fit together. They're the wrong shape. To get them to fit, you have to add a few linking runes, Gear and Tear. And then for balance, you have to add Gear and Tear to the other brick too. Then the bricks cling to each other without breaking. But if only bricks were only made of clay. And then it goes on like that. So he really thought it through, and like he's got laws for sympathy and how that unfolds and stuff, which is just it's really well thought through magic. And then there's also the Fey magic, which no one understands because there's a Fey world, surprise, and they can do obviously like glamoring, and they can just make crazy, and that's where you get like the supernatural magic more. But human practitioners of magic logic it out in a way through strength of will, apparently. So everyone just try just believing magic is true, and
I think
keep waiting for that Hogwarts letter.
Yeah, I think a lot of like real world magical belief is mostly about like using your will to make what you want come true. Like, so like
the
you
secret.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like, say like you want something to happen, and you might do like a ritual to do it. The ritual itself may not have any power, but the fact of you doing the ritual means you keep your mind on what you want to do, which ultimately gets you closer to your goal. So in a way, the magic kind of works, even though it may not be supernatural. It might just be something that's keeping you focused on what you're doing. But I think that's how most like real life magical thought process works.
Yeah, agree.
But also,
agreed.
I'm not a magician, so
I don't know. We should ask Penn and Teller about this.
yeah.
But I mean, Grant, like obviously you are, the gaming aficionado. So if we move from like novels into games, where do you think gaming has done magic really well?
I'd say The Witcher. I really like the magic system in The Witcher. And I even know it's the books, but yeah, I know, but still. Well, I like
it's presented.
Yeah. Like it's well put out. Like I would say, like most games that have magic in it are based from a book or a series. Anyway, like most, I can't like or the Elder Scrolls. But even then, like the magic in the Elder Scrolls, I think is pretty vanilla. It's like fireball, the Elder Scroll itself, which is just this thing that you can't read unless you go blind, made by some thing that I don't understand because I haven't played the other 6 games that were made before I was born. So I'm not
Wait,
quite.
what? You can't read it unless you go blind.
No, you go blind if you read an Elder Scroll. So like, that's the whole thing of the game.
That you do or you don't want to read an Elder Scroll. Is like, are we trying to find it or not?
Well, I don't think the other games, like I know in Skyrim you find a couple Elder Scrolls, but I can't remember if in Oblivion if you even actually find an Elder Scroll. I think that's just the name.
I know
And
in
then-
Skyrim you take an arrow to the knee.
yeah,
Yeah, that's about it.
that's a magical experience. Me and everyone around me is taking an arrow to the knee. But yeah, like I don't know. I don't think like I play too many like fantasy games, so I don't really get a lot of magic from that. But what I did want to talk about is like magic in like things like Studio Ghibli movies. You know, like My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, and all that kind of stuff. I'd think of that as magic as well, or Spirited Away.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like that's a
as
magical
someone
system.
who's seen like half of Spirited Away, and that's it. What is the difference in what they do in that sort of in?
Well, like
this is where I try and get my leg on screen. I've got the forest spirits that come out. I think a lot of the Studio Ghibli is based on Japanese religion,
a lot of
Shintoism and
folklore.
stuff. Yeah. Because like it's Spirited Away. It's like she goes to the spirit world, and you know, there's all the spirits there and stuff. And Totoro, I've seen a theory where it's actually the kids die, and that's what it's about, which I think is true. And it's kind of like them being transported and stuff. And well, except for the witch. Kiki's Delivery Service. I don't think there's any specific Japanese mythology about that.
But we do have to talk about the real MVP in the Studio Ghibli universe, and that's Porco Rosso. Have you seen Porco Rosso? The cursed man who has a pig head but is also a World War II Italian fighter jet pilot that fights air pirates. It's amazing. It's the best.
It makes a lot of sense. So
I had to do some research.
That'll do.
Because they don't even explain in the movie why he's got the head of a pig. They just say he's cursed. That's it. That's all you get. So I had to do some digging. It turns out Miyazaki said that he lost his connection to the human race because he became disillusioned. So he cursed himself to become a pig rather than live in Italy as they were becoming like a fascist state. So he instead of like becoming a fascist, he just turned himself into a pig and said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go shoot some air pirates."
I'm proud of that guy. I'm very proud of that guy. Well done to him.
I like that. And then you've got magic and stuff like Harry Potter, which we haven't discussed. Everyone's like, ugh. J.K. Rowling is a turf and a piece of trash. Anyway,
I reckon we can have a whole episode on that because I'm starting to change my tune. I don't actually think she's a turf. I think she just hates women. The more I read about it, all the female characters in Harry Potter are just very, very underplayed.
What are you talking about? Cho Chang is such a really complex character.
Name, but every single time,
Scottish girl.
Every single time Cho Chang is mentioned, the very first thing is Cho Chang, who was very pretty, every fucking time. I'm going through it at the moment. I'm getting so mad. So we're gonna have a Harry Potter thing at the end. But in terms of the magic of Harry Potter, it is like, I mean, it's interesting the way
it's another one where the ability is born into people, like with like bending or with channeling, where it's born into people, the ability, which I think is bloodlines, purity. Oh my god, are all fantasy authors like, oh god, are they like, oh god.
Yeah. How many of these have fascist undertropes?
Don't talk about the vault. Don't talk about the vault in the movie.
But no, I think Harry Potter doesn't really. I mean, obviously, because like the first couple of books were aimed at quite young children. I don't
Kids.
think
Yeah, they were literally modern Enid Blyton books. Like he goes off to school and he's a wizard. It's like the Faraway Tree, except no one's called Sooty Black, just Cho Chang. It's progress.
Sheesh. Is it though?
We're gonna have another episode when I finally finish the Harry Potter series. We can have an episode on that and my feelings on J.K. Rowling, because I've been venting to a friend like nonstop.
Oh, we won't talk about that kind of magic then. One kind of magic which did cross my mind, which we didn't have in the show notes, is a Game of Thrones. So the Song of Ice and Fire series. Let's not talk about the TV show.
Well, I was gonna say, well, Grant, you're going through the TV show though.
I finished it. I finished it before, I think, like maybe a couple of weeks ago now.
What were your thoughts?
Because the nature of how I watch things, I understand that because the rest of the series is so large and extreme, like there's no way you could ever finish that show and keep everyone satisfied. Like, it was never going to happen. No matter what happened, no one was going to be satisfied.
As a reader of the books, anyway, so magic in it though isn't really established. Like there's like the warlocks and who like steal one of her dragons, and she like gets trapped in their tower and stuff, and it's this whole thing of like illusions and whatnot. But I'm pretty sure they just drugged her, and that's what happened there. And
then there's the things that keep bringing people back to like the blood.
There's like the Brotherhood who do that, and they actually bring Lady Catelyn. Shit, it's been a while. They bring her back to life, which is not in the TV show. And she like joins the Brotherhood, and she can't talk because her throat was slit. So when she talks, she has to hold it together, and she like rasps like this.
There is rumors that she is in, because when they go back to Winterfell, like in certain scenes, you kind of see like what looks like a wraith-like figure kind of go through the background of certain scenes, and so people were suggesting because
there's also like a water bottle in a few of the scenes.
Don't forget about the Starbucks cup.
Starbucks cup is fucking great.
From what I've gathered, I haven't like gone on any forums about this, but I'm keen to hear people's thoughts. The only real magic that you see is the White Walkers, which are like zombies. The Fae, like the fairies, can do some magic. Like the children, like those children people who like live in the tree with the Raven guy. Which again, that's like an association with like a fairy thing. So I don't want to get too caught up in that. But and then we see the magic of like Melisandre and stuff, where she births a shadow demon who goes and kills someone. But I think the takeaway that I've kind of got from the magic, because there are other sorcerers in it who aren't in the TV show, and they are capable of some things, but I think it's all blood magic is kind of what George R.R. Martin's written into it. Like humans aren't capable of like magic. They're only capable of death causing things. Like Daenerys's husband dies and she sacrifices the Margy woman, and in a way herself, to hatch the dragon eggs, or maybe her brother. You know, you could go either way about that. And that's how the dragon eggs are hatched, is by that. And like maybe the Targaryens are immune to fire because of their craziness and their going crazy and killing people thing. But anyway, I think there's like a big blood magic sort of vibe, which is really cool. But there's a billion other fantasy series where I have seen some that use blood magic. I have seen some that are all fairy shit. You know, it's all different, but I want to hear what people's thoughts are. If there's any more that you want us to talk about, if you want more of an in-depth description of my nice Name of the Wind series, if you just want me to read an audiobook of just me reading every description of magic.
That'll be Patreon exclusive. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a Patreon exclusive. No, that's my OnlyFans. It's just me.
I was just about to say, let's start a Northside Nerds OnlyFans, and it's just like,
peaceful narration.
Peaceful narration, and occasionally me being like, "Oh fuck, got to get my cat."
I mean, what about, because this was the kind of note that I put towards the end is, and I mean, maybe Grant, if you thought of anything, like, yeah, is there any much in the way of like future based magic themes? Because like the magic of the past is often like the science of the future, as people say, but like, yeah,
Yeah,
when it
why
comes
are all
to
fantasy novels medieval? Sorry,
Well, I feel like
I have
you've
so
got,
many
like,
opinions.
most like future-based magic stuff's usually like maybe like say like if you go back to Skyrim, for example, maybe like the Dwemer, where it's like they make like automatons, but even then it's still kind of set in like a past aesthetic.
What
Like
about
it's
Neon?
future
What about
adapt.
Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Yeah, I guess so. Is that?
There's some more religion though, because that's the
No,
angels.
yeah,
in
no, I guess
that.
the angels like the destroyers.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
why are the
I'd say
angels
that's magic.
destructive?
Yeah. I can't remember. I did listen to a big podcast on this, to be honest, and I'm having a blank.
It's.
I
I
had a
mean,
big night last night. I do
the,
know
Yeah.
this. I actually do know like I've never watched it, but my brain just
the
absorbs
ending of it
knowledge.
is so fucking like, it's because they're like the production company ran out
They
of
ran out of
money,
money, yeah.
and so they kind of had to end it in this really fucking weird way, and so it doesn't
I
actually make
still have
sense.
no idea what happened in that
No,
show.
I don't think anyone does. I don't even think the
Well,
writers do. I'll be honest.
it was funny, like seeing like forums and stuff online of people going, like, oh, he meant this, that's why it turned out this psychological way because he was like really trying to get these undertones, but he was flying by the hand, like the seat the whole
Mm.
time. He's fucking making it up as he goes. He had no
He's
idea.
throwing darts. He's
Yeah, he
yeehawing
had
through it.
no fucking idea, and that's why they did the movie tie up. Like later on, they released like these are like 3 movie length
4
episodes or
movies,
something like that. Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like the first half of it's like basically the show because like, all right, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna like tidy this up, and because I've kind of strung something together from the bullshit that I made up the first time that I did this show. It's all right. The mummy daddy issues are still there. Don't worry. Don't get upset about that. They're still there.
Oh my god.
The
Oh my
only example
god.
that I had of like future science, like there is a lot of like psychic energy in the Warhammer universe. It's channeled from the
I guess,
warp. And so there's a lot of like psychic powers where they're like, the powers of their mind, and them they can make people explode, and they can do all kinds of stuff. They can like some of them, especially in like the Thousand Sons, which are one particular chapter, who really kind of work with psychics and work with librarians and whatnot. And they like, some of them have the ability to kind of see like 5 seconds into the future, so it makes them much better fighters because they can see like when they're going to be attacked in different ways and whatnot. Other ones have the power to like shoot psychic bolts and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of that is based in religion as well, because it's like the chaos gods, so to speak. The primordial evils in the warp are the ones that are kind of giving this power, so to speak, to some of them. So I think it ties that in the Warhammer universe is tied a lot into religion.
I'd still consider that as magic, though. It's just that universe's rules of magic. But we did miss a massive one. How did none of us think of Star Wars? Obviously, space wizards.
Space wizards
In the future, like it's all magic.
That's true.
I maybe the force is just sheer force of will.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was thinking about Star Wars, but I was like, I mean, it's never really. There's the M word, which we should not go into. The episode 1 blasphemy.
Midichlorians, I'll say it. I'm not afraid of the word.
Yeah, his bloody
talking about flying by the seat, making shit up.
Immaculate conception, midichlorian super being. But
Space Jesus.
He does bring balance to the force, because the force always needs to have a light and a dark side. And then it gets expanded upon if you include 789 as canon. I feel like there's got to be a Star Wars thing, but then you could say that finding the gray in the Force was like that part of the movies. Anyway, Star Wars is a huge topic. But again,
technically a long time ago, so that's actually set in the past. So we
exactly we see evidence of that in Raiders of the Lost Ark, is it? Where some of the writing on one of the ships that they find is actually like the Star Wars script. That's a nice little tie over.
Fantastic movie. I love it.
But that's another one where the ability is born into people.
Yeah. It's not, but I think that's probably the same for basically all of them, because even like the magician, like Pug, was born sensitive. Harry Potter, as you say, Lord of the Ring, like kind of all of them. Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones, a lot of that's more religion and sacrificing kind of stuff.
And I think it's like blind belief sort
Mm.
of thing. And there's a lot about fire.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of classes.
George R. R. Martin's got a kink. What can I say?
I mean, maybe then there's the writing prompt right there is to create a world of magicians that can like make other people into like same way as like a vampire can make another vampire.
June,
kind of
June,
thing.
June, June, June.
Yeah, I was thinking that
June.
as well. The
Um,
Fremen,
where they-
I'd say that like God, like the Fremen.
That's a bird. Yeah, that's
Oh,
a
they're
bird
Benny
as well.
Gesserit.
The-
I'd say
the
that's
Bene
No.
Gesserit,
magic.
Like, yeah,
the Bene Gesserit are bread though.
yeah, but that's the point. It's like
yeah,
it's
but I
bread.
mean,
Yeah.
like the
But
process.
spice. The
yeah.
navigators all
yeah.
use spice to be able to navigate and use that telepathic power.
Yeah,
Bam, we found an example where people are not born with it.
the worm shit. Worm shit. That's the magic.
Oh, and
Yeah.
and also in the Name of the Wind universe, you aren't born with the ability. You just have to be able to get the right mindset. Otherwise, you might go crazy, which a lot of people do. And if you study, and not everyone can do everything. Like some people can only do like basic sympathy because it's about like strength of the mind, which I guess you're born with. I don't know. Or maybe you have like a lot of childhood trauma that you overcome, and that gives you strength of the mind.
That can go some very, very dark places right there.
Sorry, I have a lot of opinions about magic. In case you can't tell, I like fantasy.
Well, I mean, before we move on to the final beat, have we missed anything? Is there magic that we haven't spoken about yet?
I mean the magic in The Witcher, but that's.
I mean, Grant brought that up. Grant, did you have more you wanted to say about the magic in The Witcher?
Nah, that was just the only like apart from like Elder Scrolls series, like the only games that could really come to my head straight away that have magic in the like I guess there's a lot of magic in there between like the Elder Blood and stuff like that. I guess it does have its own set of rules, but I haven't read
feel
the
like
books.
maybe elves is just an episode in itself because elves are represented differently in everything, and like, but they all seem to have like your common tropes.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
mean, like-
episode 16, elves get out of jail free card for every fantasy novel. Can't think of a system of magic, just put elves in it. You lazy cunt, put elves in it. Who gives a fuck? She'll be right.
And it's just going to be us going through everything that mentions an elf.
Well, I reckon we should 100, and maybe this would be like a deep research episode, but I would love to because I actually asked this question to a friend of mine the other day. Is like, where did the original idea of like, because if you think about like the main fantasy tropes, I mean, you take the magician as an example. Lord of the Rings is the same. There's orcs, elves, goblins, dwarves. They're the same characters, but where did these characters kind of come from? Like dwarves maybe not like an obvious one, because we obviously have birth defects that can lead to like dwarfism and things like that. But like where do all these tropes kind of come from?
Yeah, but the people with dwarfism don't have beards and live in mountains and enjoy mining.
No, but you can see the inspiration from that in throughout the.
Yeah, I've always wondered that. I think that will be a deep dive episode for us.
But perhaps the first person that wrote about dwarves knew a dude that was just short with a long beard. He just really liked hitting rocks.
Just a really big Metallica fan.
Yeah.
Not Slayer.
Yeah.
I reckon I'm just going to put forward a theory. I think it's going to be a lot of English tales, such as like the King Arthur and stuff. Pretty much the Monty Python is where inspiration
a lot
came
of
from.
probably Norman and like pre-Norman, like British stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, Grant and I are going to have fun with this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh, can't wait to talk about longbows for 3 hours.
Well, the Two Rivers longbows in the Wheel of Time. No, sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, on that note, we are going to move into the final beat of this episode, which I've posed the question to the group. Who do you believe in throughout film is the worst actor to be cast as the best character? Like, where is a good character appearing that has just been like shockingly poorly cast? And maybe Grant, we'll start with you. Where did you take this question?
Well, I had to. My brain pretty much went straight to Tom Cruise in The Mummy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you got like Brendan Fraser. You're like, we got to reboot it. Let's just get the shortest, most annoying person to be in movies. It's like, you know what the Mummy needs? More Scientology. And no, I don't think it needs that at all.
Hey, we didn't even speak about Scientology and magic. Damn, that's a whole other episode.
Xenu doesn't deserve the airtime.
That's more it's more sci-fi anyway.
Yeah. Fuck Dianetics.
I want to hear yours, Josh.
I went ham on this thing because I have like you have a lot of opinions about magic. I have a lot of opinions about this, and so I'll go through all the runners up I kind of had because I broke it down in my brain as just like I wanted a well written character that's been poorly cast, and so because I went through a couple of like badly written characters, like a lot of people were talking about like Jared Leto as the Joker and whatnot, but the version of
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was gonna pick that, but I thought it was just low hanging fruit. I'm like,
but that was like he played the version that was written really well. It was just a really badly written character. It's the same with bloody
Ryan
Jesse
Reynolds
Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor. Like that character.
Sorry, the Facebook guy.
Yeah,
like not the Facebook guy, but he plays Lex.
He plays Lex Luthor, but they wanted, like, when they were writing it, they wanted Lex Luthor to be like a rough and tumble street kid, and like it's like the character was just badly written. So I was like,
yeah,
so
never had a chance.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
And in that as well, I like Topher Grace playing Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock's an amazing character, but like the version of Eddie Brock that was written for Spider-Man.
Wait, who's Eddie Brock?
Venom.
Venom.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. The version of Eddie Brock that was written, it was written like Jimmy Olsen. It was it's just like a annoying piece of shit. Like Eddie Brock's actually supposed to be more like as Tom Hardy plays him, like quite a good investigative reporter and quite a like a tough guy, but like a fucking good, like just better than Topher Grace played it. So again, like those are all like badly written versions of good characters.
To be fair, though, Spider-Man 3 as a whole was just poorly written. The whole movie was shit. It was a dumb.
Is that the one where he dances?
No, is it? Oh, is it the second one?
It's like the Tobey Maguire one where he gets evil and he's like finger gunning down the street, and it's like,
no, that would be the third one because that's when he gets the symbiosis from the Venom.
But so my runner-up was Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise in a different film. I thought you might go this way on this one, but I liked the Mummy one. So Tom Cruise,
liked the Mummy?
No, I liked where you went with it.
He liked your opinion.
Yeah, I was about to leave like right now.
So I don't know if you guys know much about Jack Reacher.
Oh, my mum was very upset about that casting. That's for sure.
Jack Reacher is described in the books as 6'5" with a 50-inch chest. Like Jack Reacher is like fucking like the Rock.
Titties?
No, as in like
okay.
Like big motherfucker.
Like he is the all-American, and to cast someone who's 4'6" and like $1.05 kind of thing, like
stands on a container to fill his petrol in his car.
Like that is fucking so shit. But no, my number, actually no, sorry, there was one more interesting tidbit. That was we almost got an amazingly bad casting. Apparently, before Ian McKellen got Gandalf,
I know this too.
It was supposed to be Sean Connery, and that would have been bad. I'm sorry, that would have been terrible.
Can someone deep fake Sean Connery onto Gandalf
and
do voiceovers?
Yeah.
I need to see that.
Study now, Pippin. Run, you fools. I can't do his voice.
But number one for me was, and this is one of my favorite actors I'm kind of really shit on right now, but Benedict Cumberbatch playing Khan Noonien Singh in Star Trek Into Darkness was a fucking shocking piece of casting for multiple reasons. Like one, Khan Noonien Singh is like one of the best villains in the Star Trek universe. But he's also a space dictator from India. Like he's actually like has Indian. He's like
Indian.
Background.
Yeah.
The original actor that played him was Hispanic in 1969, I think it was. But so still missing the boat there. But Benedict Cumberbatch is like the ultimate white guy, and like the character though is written so fucking well in that film. It is such a good script, and it's like you could have cast so many better, like more representative people in that role who were amazing actors who would have done that role so fucking well. And it just, I think it just made me mad. Like there was nothing wrong with Benedict Cumberbatch's performance in it, but it was such a well-written role that could have been
Penguins.
It could have been given to so much better.
That's always says penguins.
Penguins. Yeah, even like George Takei came out and said, like, you know, this kind of shits on Gene Roddenberry's image of what Gene Roddenberry wanted for Khan Noonien seeing. And yeah, so I think for me that was the worst casting you could possibly done, because the role was so good, and it just, he just missed all the dimensions to it.
Yeah, I didn't write any notes for this segment because I knew I'd be popping off on the fantasy bit. Can you tell that I am on the spectrum and that I love fantasy? But just thinking about it, on the fly, I can't think of anything that really stands out to me. The things that I only ever get mad about with casting is when characters do not match the descriptions from the books. That, you know, I've already voiced my concerns over like why I don't like Harry Potter, because I think the casting was shit. I know they were children, but I don't care. Anyway, some of the casting, not all. Anyway, and also whitewashing casting makes me really angry. Like, even in The Boys, like the Deep is supposed to be black. And he actually wears like a big diving bell. Obviously it's not going to be accurate to it. And then Black Noir isn't actually black in the books, which in the comics, which I feel like is maybe better than having Black Noir being black. I don't know.
There's the story about why Black Noir isn't black in the comics is very different to what's in.
Yes, very.
Just in case people want to read The Boys. But the story around Black Noir in the comic books is
so good. Such a good story.
Right.
Whitewashing roles and not casting people who are of that ethnicity.
It doesn't make any sense in this day and age. Like I can understand it like 50 years ago, because it's like
100 years ago,
100 years ago, whatever. But like 50 years ago, like it's not like we haven't been having these conversations for the last 10 years. Like they were having them back then, but not the same like strength and power. And like there's so much more representation these days. The casting pool in general is so much bigger because the population is so much bigger. Like, you know, the film industries around the world have gotten better in every single way in terms of production value, in terms of casting, in terms of everything. Whereas like you can look around the world and like look outside.
There's no excuses left.
No, there's absolutely no excuses left, because we are a much more global society than we were even fucking 30 years ago.
Also, I mean, with the internet, we should be casting the perfect person for every role. There is no excuse for shit casting, like casting Tom Cruise in The Mummy.
just as
casting Tom Cruise in general. Just get rid of him.
As a complete side note, just, you know, as something completely irrelevant to what was just said, Odin is actually described as red-bearded with white in his beard. So, I mean, that's just an interesting fact about Odin as a god, is he has a red beard with a white patch. That's just interesting to know. Really?
Marvel Universe, next time you're making a Thor movie and Odin will be featuring in it, Joshua Redbeard is available. You can contact him.
Worst actor. Don't cast me in anything ever. That would end up on my list of just like, you've cast me in
worst cast actors.
I am the worst actor. Oh my god. Every time we have to do a music video, I can't. The only time I can act is like when I got waterboarded and I genuinely couldn't breathe, and you could see the terror in my eyes because I was like, "This is waterboarding." Didn't know what it was. That's another story.
I thought that we were just going to be on the back of a boat. You know, that's boogie boarding.
I don't know. I thought you like put me on a wet board or something.
No.
Guantanamo Bay, this one's for you. Yeah. Was that bad?
And on that note, we're going to put it out to you though, dear listeners. Every Friday on the Northside Nerds Instagram, we post the wonderfully edited Photoshop job by me.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, I do so well every week. It makes me so happy. But yeah, we want to know who you think is the worst actor cast in the best role. Who was just so freaking poorly cast.
You can include voice actors.
Can include voice actors, 100%. I'm trying to think of a bad voice actor now, and I'm kind of coming up short.
Oh, I'm sure there's heaps. I'm sure you'll put
Yeah,
something
there's
on. You're like,
heaps.
I hate that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, as soon as
Stop
we hit stop,
talking.
we're gonna be like, "Fuck this."
We will also definitely be doing an episode of the best casting, which will be a very tough one to do.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I'm gonna
that's
have to
something
start
to think
thinking
about.
that now. 100%. But in the
We gotta
meantime,
start writing notes.
No,
Like
granted, I need to go to bed after our big gig weekend.
yeah, right. Nah,
What do you mean? I'm gonna go
afraid.
play Skyrim after this.
Oh yeah, you had a nap. I worked today.
Yeah.
That's fun banter. Oh yeah, what did you have for dinner?
Like and subscribe.
That's our OnlyFans.
I'm just gonna
Give
put
us
it
your
up
opinions though.
Yeah. Send us $5 a week to hear us small talk.
Yeah, send us your opinions and give us your magic dynamic. Give us theories. Tell me how much I don't know.
Comment on the YouTube. The YouTube's slowly growing as well. We like just I like every week I kind of check in and there's just like views just slowly growing. It's kind of nice. It's kind of cute. Some random.
It's just me. It's me on dating apps, just pitching my podcast to everyone.
Nice.
I'm there for guerrilla marketing.
And also, leave in the comments your own personal theories as to why Porco Rosso is the best Studio Ghibli movie, because it absolutely is.
At least I didn't cry in that one. So
Why not? He's a pig man. You cried from happiness. You're like, yeah, you fucking get him, pig man.